Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Dr. Tom LaHue. We're going to be talking about anger and the anger styles of each Enneagram type. So there's a lot in this world to be angry about. I mean, anger basically is that incongruent, upset feeling that we have when things aren't working out the way we expected them to. In one sense, our anger comes from the fact that we have preconceived ideas of the way things should be. And that's not always a bad thing. I mean, the reality is we kind of go into the day or into the week or into the date or into the day of work, whatever the context is. Maybe it's a vacation or a family day at the museum. Whatever it is, we go into these experiences with certain expectations of the way things should be. We kind of have this Garden of Eden mentality that things should work out perfectly, that we should never get sick, and that relationships should work fine, and we should always have a sunny day. And the reality is things don't always work out that way in the real world. So we have this feeling within us that feels incongruent or upset, and we call it anger. And anger is not a bad thing, it's just how we express that anger. It's how we process that anger. And I have to admit, as a type 7, I'm maybe not the best person to talk about the right ways to process anger. All of us have our mechanisms for dealing with anger, which aren't always so healthy. And so we're going to get into those today in this video about how each type kind of deals with their anger or the way their anger might look to the rest of us. So give a key word for each type. As a reminder, in the description below is a link to my website, tomlahue.com. I do offer Enneagram and relationship coaching. What is it? Well, it's basically life coaching that's based on the knowledge of the Enneagram, which really helps us get over the target with whatever's going on in your life, whatever is not working right, or if your relationships are not doing well. As soon as you tell me, well, I'm an 8 and my wife is a 3, or I'm a 5 and my wife is a 1, we immediately have some information there that could be very useful in learning how to get along better and being more compassionate with each other. Check out my Present to Life coaching program. It's a 3-month program designed around you and your needs. I'd love to work with you, and you can find out that information in the description below. Also, lots of classes going on, lots of Zoom classes coming up, and lots of on-demand classes. So check that out. All right, so let's get into the information here and talk about each Enneagram type. I've got some notes in front of me, so if it looks like sometimes I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at, my notes, because I'm not smart enough to remember everything on my own. But each type has their own unique way of experiencing anger, or maybe we could say expressing their anger. So we're going to call that an anger style. And understanding these styles can provide us insight in how to get along with each other, how to manage our anger, and maybe some more healthy ways to express our anger. Because when we do what we do, we don't realize that not everybody processes the same way we do. And so pointing it out and being able to see how you process and how you deal with anger can help you realize, is this always the most effective way? Maybe there's more effective ways, and we always want to improve, get better in life. By the way, how do you like the new sweatshirt, or the drug rug, I think as they might be called? All right, so type 1, the perfectionist, which has the sin of anger. Let's just start there. The reformer, the perfectionist, whose sin actually is anger. And of course that comes from that idealistic way of looking at life. The 1-wing 9 is literally called the idealist, and the 1-wing 2, the mentor, the advocate, the teacher. Type 1s typically experience anger as a sense of frustration or irritation, and it often stems from the feeling that things around them are not as they should be. Well, green light, ding, ding, ding. Guess what? Things are not as they should be. People don't always do the right thing. We sometimes make mistakes. We sometimes intentionally do the wrong thing. I mean, we actually know what the right thing is, but then decide, I don't want to do that. It doesn't feel convenient for me to do it that way. And so I'd rather just take this shortcut. I'd rather take the low road or the lazy man's approach and do things the wrong way. And they might try to suppress or control that anger because it may not be good to look angry to others, and pursue a more rational and fair way or balanced way. Somebody's at the door. But a type 1 might express passive aggressive behavior at times, being overly critical or judgmental of the actions or attitudes or behaviors of the people around them, correcting people's mistakes, pointing out their mistakes or their failures. And the anger style of the 1, let's just summarize it with the word critical. The anger style of the 1, we could say, is just critical, which is really interesting when you think about it, because, 1s do not tend to respond well when other people criticize them or are overly critical with them. If you have to criticize a 1, be very careful in how you do it. Less is more, and think micro criticisms, because 1s tend to be so critical of themselves and critical with others that a little goes a long way. So the type 1 anger style, critical. I think it would probably be good for 1s to maybe get a gym membership, get into their body, walking, running, punching a punching bag. Same things with 8s. Probably that's good for all of us. 9s would be really good for them to get in touch with their anger, but 1s to give their anger an outlet. To realize it's not bad. You're not a bad person for being angry. There are good reasons to be angry because things don't do what they should and people don't do what we should, and so it can be justified to be angry. It's just be careful with your anger and how you express it, because it can be really hard to be around somebody who's upset all the time. Let's just say it that way. Or let's say it backwards. It's a lot of fun to be around someone who isn't upset all the time. And upset, that's just another word for anger. All right, let's move on to type 2s. The giver, the helper, the befriender, the connector. Well, 2s would never get angry, would they? Would 2s ever get angry? I mean, 2s are warm and loving and kind and gracious. Well, they often show up that way, but 2s often have sort of a reciprocal way of looking at relationships. Like, I'm doing all these things for you, and I'm demonstrating all this care and concern and love for you, and I'm remembering your special days and your special colors and the things that you like, and why are you not doing that for me? And when love and attention and affection and appreciation and concern and all these things are not reciprocated, it's very easy for a 2 to begin their fears to come to the surface of feeling unloved, unwanted, uncared for, not important, not a priority to other people. And remember, the sin of the 2 is pride. And the pride gets wounded because they don't feel like they are a priority to the other person they're in a relationship with. Well, what would happen then? Well, sometimes it can be hard for 2s to openly and directly express their anger and their needs. It can be very hard. 2s who are tuned in to other people's needs can have a really hard time expressing their own needs. And let me read what I got here. 2s may not always recognize their own anger, as they tend to focus on other people and taking care of other people and providing for other people. And when they do express their anger, it's often because they feel unappreciated or taken for granted. Never ever behavior for 1s is never criticized. And I would say that's very close to a 2. Be very careful if you have to criticize a 1. Be very careful if you have to criticize a 2. But the never ever behavior for a 2 is never take a 2 for granted. Just becoming like expecting them. They always show up, they always give their help, they always arrive early and stay late and clean up and take care of. And so you don't think to appreciate them any longer. You just think, well, that's the way they do it. Of course they're here. Of course they're going to say a nice word. Of course they're going to make a comment. a positive comment, encouraging comment on my Facebook post. So why thank them anymore? Because you just come to expect them, and that is what it means to take someone for granted. So it's very important that we remember to thank all of the twos in our lives and show the appreciation for how they're showing up and taking good care of us. And when they don't receive that kind of feedback, remember for twos, threes, and fours in the shame and worth group, feedback is very important to each of them. It's like they're sending out sonar and they need a message to come back to them, reaffirming their worth and value to you. And when they don't get that message, twos are going to feel hurt. And let's see, another word that I wrote down is passive aggressive is how it might show up. Because it can be hard for twos to directly express their anger. Now, eventually, if they get to that 8 place, they might become very direct in the way they confront others. But at first, they'll probably be more passive aggressive, maybe guilt tripping other people in their lives. For example, saying things like, I guess I'll just do this myself since I'm the only one who seems to care about whatever. And, and then people go, oh my goodness, are we serious? We have to do this. So this indirect expression of anger or disappointment for not receiving help when they're implying, and they may have a hard time directly just saying, hey, I need you to do this job. I need you to do this job. They may give off the vibe and hope that you pick it up. And I think it's because twos tend to pick up other people's needs. So they are confused why you're not picking up their needs. Why should I have to say this out loud? Obviously, you don't care about me, or you don't care about the things I care about, or you don't show appreciation. And so I would say in one word, what is the anger style of a two? If the anger style of a one is critical, the anger style of a two would probably be best summarized by the word resentful. How does that make you feel? Probably not very good. Nobody wants to think of themselves as being resentful. But, if you don't deal with this anger and you don't communicate it and you don't process it together as a couple in a relationship, this resentment could grow and eventually become bitterness. And it's very easy for a two to fall down this well, of the bitter, resentful martyr. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for you, and your family doesn't want that for you. And if you're in that state, look, you're not bad. Okay, don't say, oh, I'm just a terrible person. Nobody could ever love me. Don't go there. Just recognize where you're at and say, okay, I'm kind of in my outhouse right now. I'm withdrawn. I'm not warm. I'm not showing the love, and I need help. I need help. And it's not a sign of weakness for you to humble yourself a little bit. Remember, your sin is pride. Humble yourself a little bit and reach out for help. Reach out for compassion. And trust the people around you that they're capable of providing that help or that compassion for you. Okay, we love you and we want to help you. All right, type threes. The achiever, the performer, the get it done person. Threes might experience anger when they feel like they're being blocked. They're trying to make a difference or reach that goal or accomplish, make those changes, hit that destination or get to that next level, and they're being thwarted because people around them are not being supportive. People around them are not encouraging or giving the admiration that they would desire, or people are just being roadblocks in their life. And they may express this anger in a very confrontational or competitive manner. And their anger often stems from the feeling like their success or their ability to reach success or attain success is being hindered or inhibited in some way, or that their image is being misunderstood or not valued or appreciated as it should be. Somebody is humiliating them, laughing at them, making fun of them, not recognizing their importance, or underestimating them or undermining them. For example, a type 3 might become visibly frustrated and agitated if they see it as someone else is getting credit for their work, their accomplishments, and their achievements. It's very important that people recognize what I've done. And the doing statement for a 3 is, did you see what I just did? Look at what look at what I've done. Look at what I'm doing. And if they're not getting that feedback from other people, they could get kind of wonky, right? So in response, they might double down on their efforts to super succeed and overperform ahead of others, using their anger as a fuel for achievement. And so they may not really see it as anger, they might just see it as drive. I am not going to be a sheep. I am going to be a lion. I will come early. I will stay late. I am a fighter. I am a champion. All that stuff sounds very positive, but underneath it is this frustration with the way things are, the frustration with how you're being perceived, and this determination to reach a new level. Now, that's not necessarily the worst way to express your anger as a drive to move you forward in life. It's just, being driven. When I think of being driven, I would just caution you for a second and say it's not really the same thing as being called to something. Think of called as like there's this higher power, higher purpose, God pulling you forward in life, saying, I want this for you, and this is a better place for you or a better plan for you, and you feel compelled to be obedient to that call. Like I feel this sense of urgency or burden in my life to be faithful to something that I feel called to accomplish. That's very different than I feel driven. Driven is more like somebody's behind you with a stick, and they're pushing you, they're driving you. And think about, what is it that's driving you? What is it that's pushing you? What is it you think that you will receive when you get to this destination? And why does that feel necessary and important to you? Why does that matter to you? How other people perceive you? I mean, it's good to have some of that, but just notice how much it might be in control of your life and in control of your actions. And then what are you really getting? When you finally reach that destination, do you celebrate it? When you finally reach that point in your life, does everybody then come around and then applaud you? And does that really feel meaningful to you? Or my guess is sometimes people that you expect, that you think are going to be happy for you and proud of you, may actually just become resentful of you, envious of you, and jealous of you. And so are you really getting everything you think you're getting out of this deal you're trying to make? So they may also become more argumentative, particularly in situations where their competence or efficiency, remember 3s are in the competency group with 1s and 5s, wanting to believe themselves and others to give them the feedback that they are competent people, capable, able, overcomers. If your competency or efficiency, your effectiveness is being questioned or suspect, you could see a 3 maybe show up in a little bit more driven, angry, frustrated way. And I guess I would summarize the word for the anger style of a 3 as competitive. A competitive anger, or an anger that moves them to position themselves in comparison with other people, ahead of other people. Like, they're not going to get the best of me. I will beat them. I will win. I will prove to them. I will show them. And then they will know. And then they will see. And then they will have to admit. Okay. All right. So let's move on to type 4, the individualist, the romantic, the healer. I love that word for 4s. Because unhealthy 4s, they are the sick one, the misunderstood, deviant, defiant one that you can't possibly know what it's like for me. But the healthy 4s, the healers who've been there, who are able to help people find the beauty in the brokenness, love it, love it, love it. 4s, the dramatist or the dramatic one. I'm not making these titles up. You can find them. If you read through the books, you're going to eventually find these titles. But 4s are often in tune with their feelings. And so I think 4s are maybe a little less afraid of anger. than maybe a 7 or a 9 or a 2 might be. So 4s would probably be much more in touch with their anger, recognizing that it's just a legitimate feeling that I have and it should be acknowledged and processed. And they could probably help the rest of us get in touch with our anger and not run from it, as some of us might be prone to do. Their anger could be intense and personal, ouchy, painful, scratchy. Remember, the animal for the 4 is the cat, and you're petting the cat and it's purring and you think everything is fine, and then, they claw you and run away and you think, what just happened? What just happened? And I think sometimes maybe like a very low healthy 4 might just like the drama of having some kind of intense conflicts going on in their life. Like, it's boring to just everything be fine. And so they might actually sabotage their relationships or conversations or, vacations or days off or whatever. They might actually sabotage their environment at times just to keep things spicy. I do love a spicy. Okay, I said low healthy. I didn't say you guys. Okay, I said low healthy 4s. Their anger could be intense and personal, painful for the people around them. Sometimes manifesting as moodiness, keyword. The anger style of a 4, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, is probably moody. 4s would look moody. Now, again, that's not a bad thing. We all have moods, and our moods go up and down, depending on how things are going around us and how we're processing and thinking about the things going on around us. At any given point in time, we're in a good mood or a high mood, and we're in a bad mood or a low mood. And being in touch with those moods is a good thing. Knowing how you are mood-wise at any given point in the day is a very important thing for you to realize. Because when you're in a low mood, you do tend to see more problems and more frustrating things in life. When you're in a high mood, it seems like problems are more solvable and your life feels a lot easier and a lot better. Moody is when you kind of move around in those really high, really low, really manic, really depressed, really excited, just kind of like in a way that other people might think, what caused the change? Like, what provoked you to jump to such a high mood or to fall to such a low mood? It's not obvious to the rest of us. It just seems like you're highly volatile and moved with the moment. And that's going to look moody, but it may be because you're so in touch with what's going on internally and how you're processing things that you could jump up and down and be very volatile. Again, volatility is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it may be hard for the people around you to catch up, to understand, and to be understanding, or to constantly be understanding with your high mood and then your low mood, and then your high mood and then your low mood. It could look a little bipolar, which actually is type 7s, but you could look a little bipolar to the people around you, and they could just get exhausted. And I'm sorry, but other people around you may just not know how to hang with you through all of this ups and downs, and they're going to get aggravated. The chances are the people around you are going to get aggravated, and they may even start to withdraw and detach, like, I just can't be around you. I just can't handle this person. They're too much. They're moody. Okay, but enough about them. Let's get the focus back on you. Their anger could be intense and personal, sometimes manifesting as moodiness or dramatic expressions. And the sighing, the moaning Myrtle, the moaning of the 4, the getting up and creating a big exit and slamming doors and turning around and screaming at the people they love. If this is the way I'm going to be treated here, I'm done, and slamming doors and grand exits. I'm not saying you guys, I'm saying low, healthy 4s. They might love their dramatic exits like a cat. All right, and just remember that. If you ever do that, just think, oh gosh, there I go again. That's one of the most helpful things you can ever say to yourself is just tap your head and say, oh my goodness, I'm such a, and then say your type out loud. I'm such a 7 right now, or I'm such a 4 right now. Oh my goodness, there I go again. That phrase is just so healing. There I go again. When you catch yourself doing these things that you could read about in any Enneagram book or watch on a video. It's not a time to beat yourself up. It's a time to laugh at yourself. Now, I'm a 7, and maybe I see it that way, but one of the most healing things you can do is learn to laugh at yourself. Remember, Richard Rohr said, the more tied we are to our Enneagram type, the more offendable we are. And the less tied we are to it, the less offendable we are. So to learn to laugh at yourself is really a key to real growth and maturity in life. To not take yourself so seriously, to humble yourself a little bit, learn to laugh at yourself and say, there I go again. A 4 being a 4, or a 2 being a 2, or a 6 being a 6. There I go again. That's that ability to catch yourself in the moment, to observe yourself doing these patterns that may not be working for you. And by working for you, I just think, are they moving you toward what you really want in life? Are these patterns that are ingrained, are they moving you toward the life you really want? Are they moving you toward your stated goals in life? Realize your Enneagram type has some fundamental motivations that will move you away from your stated goals in life. And you need to catch that and then work to, at times, maybe 20% of the time, push back on these impulses and compulsions that are not moving you in the direction you really want to go in life. So good, so helpful, so fantastic, great information. Type 4s might use passive-aggressive behavior when they feel misunderstood, undervalued by others. They could be aggressive, but they could also be passive-aggressive by giving someone the silent treatment. How does that feel? Feels weird, doesn't it? Feels uncomfortable. Silent treatment or withdrawing affection. Remember, in distress, a 4 might look a little bit like a 2, coming back to patch things up. But see, in your anger, in your frustration, when you're just, ticked off, you might just withdraw your affection, move away from the group, differentiate yourself away from everyone else, deviate from all the rest to show that you're upset. Instead of directly addressing, calmly talking through the issues that hurt them. Okay, let's move on to type 5, the investigator. 5s, very rational, very competent, very cerebral thinkers who want to process feelings sometimes as information. 5s might tend to intellectualize their emotions, including their anger. They might withdraw or detach when angry and try to be unaffected by the events, the people, the circumstances around them that are causing this anger. So it could be geographically removing themselves, just, I'm done with these people, I can't take it, they exhaust me, moving away, going into your cave and hibernating like an old bear. Or it could just be staying, if you can't leave that environment, staying there but no longer really being present and trying to remain unaffected by like a hazmat suit is on, and I'm here, but I'm rising above or moving away from. I'm detaching and staying unaffected. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The rest of us could probably learn some wisdom by trying to do this a little bit more and trying to stay rational. I could see where 5s might sometimes emerge in their anger, very sarcastic or very cynical, destroying people's belief systems and destroying people's arguments, trying to remain logical and going for the jugular, going for the throat of people's arguments. Inefficiency, illogical actions, incompetence, these could all be triggers for a 5. I always say, imagine if you're a 5, imagine sitting under a professor that doesn't really know the information. And just think how frustrating that feels. Or hearing people banter on about nonsense that they don't really know anything about, and then trying to force you to agree with their opinion, and being very emotional in how they interact. And just see that as a 5, like, I don't want any part of that. That doesn't feel right or good to you. In situations of conflict, type 5s might appear detached and unemotional, uncaring, could appear uncaring or just like they're not engaged or not a part of it. They could become volatile, argumentative, debating. They could become nitpicking in the conversation. What did you mean by that? Where did you get your facts and information from? What is your source? And this kind of analyzation of what people are saying, eventually people are probably just going to be like, you know what, forget this. I'm done. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to debate. And it's not a bad thing. It's just you tend to be more facts-oriented, logical thinking, and just realize like people are emotional and they sometimes let their emotions get ahead of them. They let their emotions get in control of them. And let's just say it this way, like ones, in some ways you could be right, but be wrong in the way you're right. Wrong in the way you're interacting with people. Wrong in that your focus is too much maybe on the content and not considering the feelings or the emotions of the people around you. I know you're probably watching this saying, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, people are not just logical creatures. I wish we were, but we're not just logical creatures. We're also emotive creatures that have feelings. And you might win the argument, but have no friends. Let's just say it that way. You may very well win the argument, walk away feeling very proud of yourself that you corrected and got to the facts of things and proved the other person wrong, but then, come to the realization that nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to be your friend. Nobody wants to engage with you. The kids don't want to play with you. In fact, the teachers don't want to teach you. And in your anger, pause, take a breath, and let yourself feel your feelings. I said, let yourself feel your feelings. And remember that other people are not robots. They have feelings. And you have to be careful with those feelings. And you have to realize that their emotional information is real information to them. It may not feel like it's on the same level as facts or knowledge, but their emotional responses are genuine and real, and you got to factor those into the equation. Okay, I'm just trying to help, guys. I don't think I understand it perfectly. I never say that I understand it perfectly, but I'm trying to help, okay? I'm trying to help understand fives and then kind of just give my perspective on it. So, in situations of conflict, type fives may appear detached and unemotional. And it's like you might just go into this like logical, argumentative processing mode, computer mode, robot mode. Their response to anger often involves stepping back, analyzing the situation from an objective standpoint. And again, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I want you to hear me say that, right? If I am in the middle of a great big conflict, controversy, and there's lots of opinions and lots of emotions swirling around and people are like hyped up and anxious and angry, I want a five in the middle of that, analyzing all of what's being said and all of the emotional stuff to help me get to the bottom line of what people are actually saying and what we really need to do next. And fives are gold. You guys are gold at that kind of stuff. Analyzing all of the chaos around us and saying, well, ultimately you have a difference of perspective between two different people, this view and this view, and and you guys are gold at getting a bottom line and helping us sort through all of that so that we're able to move to a solution. So what is the anger style of a type 5? I'm going to use the word withdrawn. The anger style of a type 5, let's just say until I come up with a better word, is withdrawn, moving themselves away from the emotional displays and moving into a more logical, thoughtful, cerebral. And to do that, you're going to withdraw yourself, either geographically or, in other ways. You're going to withdraw yourself from the intenseness of the argument into a more logical, debative type way of reasoning through a situation. Again, not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying most of the time it's good, but just there's that 10, 20% of the time where you got to remember your kids have feelings. and you got to be careful with those feelings. Your wife has feelings, and you got to be careful with those feelings. And look, you're the smartest person in the room. I shouldn't have to tell you this. Okay, type 6. The guardian, the trooper, the brave one, the loyalist, the skeptic, the sweet and sour for you, and then turns on a dime and is against you. The loyal citizens, the mutinous mob. 6s. 6s might experience anger as anxiety and fear. Let me say that backwards. When 6s display anger, you might ask yourself, is there an underlying fear that is causing them to look angry? I don't want to be afraid. I don't want to show my fear, so I'm going to look angry. Who's responsible for this? Why are you not telling us the truth? Let's get to the bottom of this. And so a 6 could come at you looking very angry, very upset, very engaged. And you might ask yourself, what is the underlying fear that they are working through? They're afraid that we are not taking something seriously. And so they're coming at us with all of this frustration, irritation, anger, loud volume, intense reactions, because underneath that is some fear that we're not taking something seriously, or that we are jeopardizing others and their safety, or we are not being careful, or we're being dishonest. They're being lied to in some way. Never ever lie to a 6. So 6s might experience anger as anxiety or fear. Or let's say it the other way, when 6s are looking angry, it may be underneath there really is anxiety or fear that is pushing that anger or pushing that up to the surface. Instead of being scared, be angry. Their anger could be a response to feeling unsupported. The fear of a 6 is of being unsupported, lacking assurance, lacking guidance, which is weird because 6s are the supporters, the guides. At their best, they're providing that for everybody. But in their darker moments, they're wondering if anybody is there to help them, to give them support or give them encouragement when they need it. They may express it either through confrontation. That is a great word for 6s. 6s and 8s, and sometimes 2s, can be very confrontational. We need to go talk to them. We need to confront them. Think like the spirit of the intervention. That's very 6-like. Let's all get together. Let's all talk about it beforehand. Let's all get on the same page. And then we need to confront this person. We need to go confront them. So confrontational, very 6-like. Their anger could be a response to feeling unsupported and insecure. They can express it through confrontation, becoming overly cautious or overly defensive or overly confrontational. These people could, if they're not careful, they could start swirling the rumor mill around the office of, well, what did you think? What does that make sense to you? Did they say this to you? When did you know about this? And what do you think they meant by that? And so they could be seen as the people that are stirring up. But notice that stirring up is going on within the 6. And then it just outwardly starts to be visual in the office place or in the family. It's already going on internally in the 6. Well, what do they mean by that? Why would they say that to me? Don't they know that I... And so that's spinning around in them, and then that energy just starts to go outside of them into the rest of the office. And before you know it, you got a hornet's nest. I always say you don't want an 8 upset with you, coming after you, mad at you, who wants to get even and revenge with you. But you sure as heck fire don't want a 6, because 6s are not as easily prone to give up as an 8. An 8 might just be out of sight, out of mind, whatever, I don't care, I'm moving on with my life. But the 6, no, they lied to us, and we need to uncover that so everyone can know. You don't want a 6 after you. Okay. Not that I've ever had one. I'm just saying that I've seen it in action. The 6s will get to the bottom of things. And they might wait 6 months or a year, but they're going to get to the bottom of things, and their whole goal is to expose you and your corruption and your lies. That is very six. The investigative journalist is the 6-wing 5. I mean, they're really called the defender, but you get the point. All right, so 6s might display passive aggressiveness by making sarcastic comments or using humor to mask their true feelings or their frustration or the distrust. And, what's the word I would come up with for 6's anger? I guess I would just say anxious, like an anxious anger, questioning. Let's just put the word anxious, but questioning, maybe confrontational, but anxious. All right, let's move on to type 7s. Type 7s, the enthusiast, the epicure, which means eat, drink, and be merry. Why focus on all the bad stuff? Let's just move on with life. 7s, we tend to be upbeat, positive, fun-loving, easygoing people that focus on the future and what's next and have a hard time processing deep, sad, emotional stuff, and sometimes have a hard time processing things like anger. It might be hard for 7s and 9s to realize how angry we are at times. Remember, 7 has a line of disintegration to 1 whose sin is anger. And so when things don't work out the way you hope they will, and you're not able to do all the things or go to all the places, and you don't have travel buddies that are good and fun and friendly and easygoing, you might find yourself getting disappointed and frustrated and irritated and serious and angry, and may not even realize how angry you are. It'd be good for you maybe to take a walk and ask yourself, am I storing up anger? Is there a bunch of anger in there? What would I be angry about? And let yourself process some of that anger that's beneath the surface. 7s typically avoid negative emotions like anger. They may express their anger indirectly through sarcasm, like 5s, like 6s sometimes, but then quickly move on, change topic, and try to reframe it and say, oh, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. It didn't work out, and that's okay because I've got these other things. I want to pursue, and really that job was holding me back anyway. And, they were doing the best they could, and look at you try to reframe this into a more positive way rather than just saying, this is BS. The way they treated me, the way they handled this was just stupid. And just let yourself lean over into that 8-wing and feel that anger. Go to that 1 and feel that anger. Just let yourself be real and genuine about this. Maybe talk to a 4 and say, help me get in touch with this anger. And it can be hard for 7s because once you start down that road, it feels like, well, I might just fall down into this quicksand of bad feelings and never be able to come out of it. But you will. It'll pass. When directly confronted with anger, their own or someone else's, somebody's upset with them because maybe they haven't followed through on all of their big ideas and promises. It's very, typical of 7s to overpromise and then not deliver and not see things through or, just teleport away. So like the absent father, for example, when you are confronted by other people's anger, they may tend to rationalize it, which is what the defense mechanism of a 7 is rationalization or justification. Well, come on now, I didn't mean that. Are you kidding me? Are you bringing that up? Are you serious? I was just kidding. I was just joking. Yeah. Make light of the situation. Well, everybody was doing that. I didn't mean that. I mean, it was funny. I was just being funny. But you were hurtful and you hurt their feelings. Type 7s typically deal with anger by trying to avoid it or deflect it. And that really is the anger style of a 7. Let's just go ahead and say the word deflective. Deflecting things away. Deflecting their anger internally away from themselves, and then when anger is coming at them, to deflect away from that and move away from it. Type 7s deal with anger by avoiding it or deflecting it. They prefer to maintain a positive outlook and may use humor to change the subject or rationalize or steer away from their own anger or other people's anger. For instance, a type 7 might crack a joke or abruptly switch the topics. If the conversation starts to move toward how someone's disappointed in you, or how somebody's upset with you, or, confronting you about what you did or what you said or what you didn't do or what you didn't say, they might switch topics if it starts to get too serious or start making humorous remarks. Their anger might also manifest as impatience or restlessness, or general frustration with life, because we're not able to go and do all the things or spend all the money we'd like to spend, feeling trapped by the people around them they love the most, feeling trapped in their job, trapped in their families, trapped because of their physical problems or their financial problems, bored. In some cases, they might take impulsive actions to try to free themselves from this feeling of being entrapped, engaging in frenetic escapism in behaviors or addictions or substances to try to distance themselves from those who are frustrated with them, or distance themselves from their own anger or their own pain in life. 7s, slow down. Slow down. Be present to life. Allow yourself to feel the feelings. They won't kill you. Sit in the rocking chair and allow yourself to feel your feelings. Or take a walk and allow yourself to work through, and maybe have to ask yourself, am I upset about anything? Am I angry about anything? Am I sad about anything? And give yourself some time to work through that. All right, type 8s. The ones that probably look the most angry and are most comfortable with anger, really. And we will use the anger style of the 8 is confrontational. It is like that for 6s, but we're going to stick the word anxiety or anxious on them and just put the word confrontational on 8s, because this is BS. If there's a problem, we need to deal with it right now. Who's to blame for this? Don't tell me what to do. All right, so the challenger. 8s are often the most direct in expressing their anger. And, sometimes go to anger because it feels better than all of the other not so good feelings of helplessness or disappointment or sadness or fear. And those feel like you're helpless because you can't control things. So anger feels more powerful. Anger feels better to 8s than those other helpless feelings, those vulnerable feelings. And so 8s might be much more willing to display their anger than maybe some of the other types. And we can learn from this. Sometimes it is good to confront. Sometimes it is good to just demonstrate your anger and say your anger out loud in a positive, constructive way, and not to suppress it or shove it down or pretend like everything's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. They are as natural. They see anger as natural and straightforward response to injustice and betrayal. And so, if you're around an 8, they're probably going to encourage you. No, this is BS. You should go act. You should tell them. Go up there and tell them. And they will, in a way, kind of empower you to embrace your anger and then let it be a fuel that drives you forward toward making changes in your life. If you want a life coach that's going to kick you in the butt, go find an 8. If you want one who's going to understand and help you process, go find a 9. But if you want one because you need to make a change in your life, go to an 8, go to a 1, find somebody like that who's going to say, no, you're overweight and you need to lose weight. You need to stop. You need to make changes. You get that person to just kick you in the rear end and confront you with the truth. The Dr. Phil out there who's going to say, how's this working for you? And then pick you up and empower you, shake you off. Now, 8s, you need to use that to empower people, not to humiliate them, not to beat them down and bring them down, but to waken them and pick them up and empower them. And 8s, when you're at your best, you're empowering people. When you're at your worst, you're disempowering everybody around you. So 8s often see anger as natural. No, it's good. You should be angry. This is not fair. This is wrong. They shouldn't be trying to control you like this. They see it as natural and straightforward response. They can be confrontational and intense in their anger, and often that can be overwhelming to people. And just recognize that, sometimes as an 8, you already know this, you're going to overwhelm people with your confrontive, direct, confrontational style, and then people are going to have their feelings hurt, and they will. Just be careful. I would say be careful, because I say it all the time. 8s win battles but lose the war. And you go confront Martha or Margaret or whoever it is in the office. You go confront them and you rip them a new one because they are the low man on the totem pole and they need to be told. And so you go after them, and then you're the one that ends up losing your job. People say, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you talked to Martha that way. You know how hurt she was?" And you think, what, goes to 5? I'm done, detach. I just want the best life for you, and I want you to, control the crush a little bit. Just control the crush. Maybe not crush, just squeeze a little. Just squeeze, not crush. Probably you need to soften just a little bit. That wouldn't be a bad thing for most 8s. To just lean into their 9 a little bit, relax. Lean into your 7 a little bit, be a little more positive. Look like a 2, a little more attentive, kind, caring, compassionate. All right. They can be confrontational, intense in their anger, often aiming to address and resolve the issue head on. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And that's good. There are times, many times, when the family just does need to talk about it. They got all this stuff going on and they need an 8 to say, "You know what? Let's talk about it. Let's bring it out in the open. Let's deal with it." All right, let's end with type 9s, the peacemakers. You guys, 9s, anger, really? You need some help, right? I know, the peacemaker. 9s tend to not be in touch with their anger. Now, I will say, my interactions with 9-wing 8s, they are much more able to look obviously frustrated and angry with the people around them. So 9-wing 1s, this is a lot about you guys. 9-wing 8s are much easier, much more prone to be in touch with their anger and express their anger more directly. But 9s tend to avoid conflict, and including the conflict that comes from processing your own anger. Because really, anger is just you being in conflict. Like, I don't like the way this is going. I don't like the way this was said. I don't like the way this person was acting toward. And there's this incongruent. And 9s, that disrupts your comfort. Remember, your whole motivation is peace, comfort, harmony, tranquility. And allowing yourself to feel your anger disrupts all of that. So you tend to not want to process your anger. So it gets stored up, it leaks out. They might suppress their anger to maintain harmony. If you go ask them, are you doing okay? I'm fine. It's okay. It's fine. No, nothing's wrong. Maybe nothing's wrong. Maybe something really is wrong. And sometimes, the way the anger might show up in a 9 typically is, you would say, the word stubbornness. And stubbornness might be a good word to put on the anger of the 9. What is the anger style of a 9? You could say stubbornness, but I think you could also use the words passive-aggressive. Passive-aggressiveness. Well, some of the other types can be very passive-aggressive, but 9s tend to be not aggressive-aggressive, but passive-aggressive. Indirect ways of demonstrating to other people that you're upset and frustrated. Could be moving away from people and withdrawing. It could be stubbornly resisting. It could be promising you're going to do things and then not following through. But when their anger does surface, it often surprises them and everybody around them. Remember, 1s are the volcano, 8s are the geysers, and 9, you are the dormant volcano that erupts every 3 months or so. And, when it happens, people are shocked and surprised and didn't know you had it in you. And you also may be shocked and surprised. You just see red and something in you changes and the anger comes out. You are an anger type. Type 9s might agree to things they don't really want to do, saying, it's fine, but not really meaning yes. So other people just keep piling their monkeys on top of you because you keep saying it's fine. But inwardly, you're getting more and more frustrated, irritated, annoyed, and angry, but not necessarily being able to say all that out loud because you don't want to disrupt comfort and harmony, your own and anybody else's. And so where does all this frustration go? It could go to addictions. It could go to procrastination. It could go to mind-numbing video games, book reading, music listening to, dog walking, closet sorting, scrapbooking. It could go to all kinds of different ways that you just avoid taking responsibility for yourself. You got to own your life and take responsibility for yourself. And if you have a problem, it doesn't always go away by ignoring it. Sometimes problems go away by ignoring them. A lot of problems go away by ignoring them. Sometimes benign neglect is a great thing to show to a problem. But other times it's going to take active engagement on your part in order to deal with this problem. And the first thing is you recognizing there is a problem. Anger can be really good for a 9. When I work with 9s, a lot of times I encourage them to get in touch with their anger. Like sit out there and let yourself be disgusted. Let yourself be frustrated at how your parents treated you or how your wife treated you or how your kids, whatever. Allow yourself to feel that anger, that frustration. That can be a good thing because anger is a great catalyst for change in your life. And 9s sometimes go on and on and on and on in these unhealthy environments, unhealthy relationships, unhealthy situations. Why would they do that? Because they won't let themselves get angry enough to make the changes necessary that could improve their lives. All right. So, interesting stuff, isn't it? All of us deal with anger in different ways. We don't live in a perfect world. We live in a fallen world, a broken world. But God has not left us in this world on our own. He's here for us to reach out to, and we're here to help and encourage each other. And, nothing in this life is going to be perfect. But we're so happy that this world isn't all there is. There's more. I'd love for you to reach out to me. I'd love to work with you. If I can help you and help you improve your relationship or improve your course of action in life or direction in life and clarify your goals and work through that, I'd love to work with you. The Enneagram is such a great tool, guys, to help us know more about ourselves and the people we love. So let's use it to better our lives and better our relationships. And as always, be present to life, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.